Welcome, everybody, to our first meeting in the month of May. My gosh, where is the year going? If I get everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation by Phil Hord from the Union Bible College and Academy. Thank you. President Tam, would you like to run the meeting, please?
Thank you, Mayor Willis. We'll start with when we note the presence of a quorum.
Noah Herron.
Here.
Chad Huff.
Here.
Victor McCarty.
Here.
Patrick Tam.
Here.
Kurt Wanninger.
Here.
John Dart.
Here.
Joe Deppner.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The next order of business is the approval of the minutes from our last council meeting. Assuming everyone's had the opportunity to review those, need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
A motion made by Councilor Wanninger, second by Councilor McCarty. Seeing no other discussion, may we call the roll?
Chad Huff.
Yes.
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger.
Yes.
John Dart.
Yes.
Joe Deppner. Yes. Noah Herron.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. The next order of business is approval of claims from May 11th, 2026. Assuming everyone's had the opportunity to review those, we need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve the claims.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor McCarty, seconded by Councilor Huff. Seeing no other discussion, may we call the roll?
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger.
Yes.
John Dart.
Yes.
Joe Deppner.
Yes.
Noah Herron.
Yes.
Chad Huff.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0.
We have no...
I'm sorry, I keep saying 8. It's 7. I don't know what I was thinking.
You could be like a junior high and just say 6, 7 or something goofy, but that's a little out of date now.
My son's 20. I don't really know that one, but gotcha.
Thank you, Marla. No changes to the agenda this evening. Do we have any residents that wish to address the council this evening? We will move on to the review of the 2024 Act for Audit. Mr. Whitcoin.
Thank you so much for having me here today. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I apologize for a little bit of noise in the background. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you so much for your flexibility. I told Marla tonight is my daughter's senior night for softball, so I appreciate you letting me participate remotely, and I'll keep my remarks relatively brief. If you want to go to the next slide, my name is Rick Whitcoin. I'm a partner with Forvis Mazars. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight. My goal, as noted on the next slide, is really to just discuss the agenda or the audit results, talk about some of the required communications and some other matters that we noted in our audit of the 2024 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report for the city. If you will look, the next slide is the audit results. If you're going to take away one thing from this presentation, is that it's all clean, unmodified, exactly what you would want to see as a council member and as a citizen. We issue 2 opinions on the financial statements. One is in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America. The other is in accordance with government auditing standards. Both of those were clean, unmodified opinions, exactly what you'd want to see. No significant deficiencies were reported. No material weaknesses were identified, exactly as you'd like it as it relates to the financial statements. With regards to the report on federal awards, those professional standards are called uniform guidance. That requires us to test the grant. $6 million of total federal grant expenditures during the year. 6.5 of that was related to COVID funding. So that is our major program. And again, we're very pleased to report no matters to report, no findings, material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, or compliance matters to report in accordance with our testing of the COVID funding. So very clean, unmodified, exactly what you'd want to see. There is one note, if you were to look in the single audit report, you would note that the city of Westfield is not a low-risk auditee. And the only reason that is because it takes 2 consecutive years of clean audits to qualify as a low-risk auditee. It doesn't mean the city is a high-risk auditee. It simply means that you didn't qualify as a low-risk auditee, which changes how we go about testing. But it's not necessarily risk as you may evaluate it in light of the city. And we anticipate once we get 2 clean audits under our belt, the city would be a low-risk auditee. The next slide covers some of our summarized, really required communications as a part of every single audit. There are certain items that we're required to communicate as auditors. Our responsibility is to express an opinion on the financial statements. That's what we just covered. The city's responsibility is to prepare the financial statements, as well as design and implement an internal control structure over financial reporting and over compliance to prevent material misstatements. We are independent of the city. There are significant estimates included in the financial statements, and these are noted in the disclosures to the financial statements. These are very common with what we see in other cities and counties that we report on. If you were going to look at just a handful of financial statement disclosures in the annual comprehensive financial report, we would draw your attention to capital assets and long-term liabilities. Obviously, cities and counties are very capital intensive. The majority of the statement of net position is made up of capital assets and long-term liabilities. And so that's why we draw your attention to those items, as well as pension and OPEB. As far as adjustments go, we did have one audit adjustment to reduce receivables. And then we had a couple adjustments that were not significant enough to push through the financial statements, but were reflected as past adjustments or identified differences that are not significant. One was related to accruing additional accounts payable or expenses. And then the other one was related to the presentation of the Economic Development Foundation, which according to governmental accounting standards should be reported as a discretely presented component unit. In essence, it should have its own column right next to the city's column in the ACFR. That said, because it is so insignificant, it is passed this year. The next slide covers a few other matters. These are just items that are FYI. They're not necessarily anything that we identified as far as deficiencies go. The first item talks about a fraud and ethics hotline. Hotlines are one of the primary and most effective ways to identify fraud and inappropriate activity. And so we have already had a discussion with Marla about a fraud and ethics hotline, considering that. Construction audits, we know that you have an owner's technical representative on all major construction projects. Should you ever not use that owner's rep, we would encourage you to consider doing a construction audit, getting involved in that side. But that said, again, as long as you're using an OTR, I think we're in good shape. Vendor fraud and email compromise, again, this is nothing specific that we noted toward the city, but instead something we're communicating with all of our clients. And that's because the risk of vendor fraud and email compromise continues to increase. I think I have 2 clients right now that are unwinding vendor fraud schemes where fictitious vendors, say, change my wiring instructions. There are situations where you'll get an email from what appears to be an employee. It's not really an employee, changing payroll wires and so forth. The city has controls in place, but ultimately it is education of all employees to make sure that that's prevented and mitigated as a risk goes. Obviously, AI is a very hot topic today. We're encouraging all organizations, again, to look at what AI solutions may be best with a very cost-benefit mind or approach to looking at that. And then the last item that we have is just some future accounting considerations. The city's compiler will certainly help in addressing these as they become applicable. GASB 102 just deals with some risk disclosures, not a significant change. GASB 103 changes some MD&A, management's discussion and analysis, as well as some other tweaks in the financial reporting model. And then GASB 104 is really a culmination of several standards over time that have kind of redefined capital assets. Again, most of these are just disclosure items. This won't change the way the city does day-to-day accounting. And we're confident that your compiler, Baker Tilly, will help you. And we obviously stand ready to help as well. So with that, I wanted to keep my comments brief. Ultimately, as I mentioned, all clean audit reports, exactly what you'd want to see. The next slide simply has my contact information. Should there ever be any questions, we're happy to entertain those. Otherwise, we look forward to getting the 2025 audit started here soon and wrapping that up by September 30th is our goal. Are there any questions on the information I covered?
Any questions this evening?
I have a few comments, if I could, Councilor Tim.
Mayor?
First off, this is the city's first ACFR. It's a heavy lift to make this kind of transition and have a clean audit like we have. is a huge
Yes.
testament to Kelly Kemper and the clerk treasurer's office. So I just want to say thank you to both of them. Kelly, I know you put in some incredibly long hours, and we really appreciate that. Clerk treasurer's office was very cooperative and very responsive. We appreciate that. And then my staff, a lot of people touch this. You can't get away from it, quite frankly. So I just appreciate everybody's willingness to make this a priority. A couple of things I just wanted to bring up as well. That fraud and ethics hotline, we are going to implement that next year. I'm really excited about that. I think it's going to be warmly received by our residents. And basically, if you think that your government's has an ethics violation or frauding our residents or the government in general, there'll be a hotline that we will not control. Quite frankly, it'll be through Forbes. But that hotline will be a mechanism for them to air out complaints. So that's a good thing. And then also, I just want to make it known, he mentioned construction audits. We're really doing that already. Since I became mayor, we hire third-party owners reps for every project we do, and they basically serve as that audit, and they're looking at every financial, every bid that comes in to make sure that it's appropriate and it aligns with what they would expect to see for that kind of bid. So we're doing that, just maybe a little bit different than what they had indicated in their recommendations, but I just wanted you all to be aware of that. And that's really about it.
I think Rick kind of mentioned that we have an owner's rep on all our projects right now. One of them's in the back corner too, that always makes sure we call out, so yeah. They're always stalking, so. But that's the piece that I do appreciate. Rick, I hope your daughter also wins her softball game tonight. So
Thank you very much. And again, thank you so much for your flexibility. And I'd be remiss if I didn't echo Mayor Willis's comments. Tremendous cooperation from your team. We certainly appreciate that. Without that, it makes this process a lot more difficult. So
thank you.
Patrick, if I might.
thank you very much.
I just wanted to add, this was actually our second ACFR. And again, another clean and unmodified opinion. So thank you.
Great. We'll move on to old business then this evening, which is ordinance 2621, which is the Common Council of the City of Westfield, Indiana, repealing ordinance 2585, authorizing the issuance of the economic development tax increment revenue bonds to support the Park and Popular project, and authorizing and approving other actions in respect thereto. I think, Janelle, do we have Brad also on the line this evening?
I believe so.
Okay.
Janelle Fairman, Executive Chief of Economic and Community Development. I'm going to do a brief overview, and I know Brad Bingham from Barnes & Thornburg can cover some of the more technical details, but this is a repeal of a previous bond ordinance that was brought to you in 2026 or 2025, which was for a city-backed bond associated with the Park and Poplar project at the Midland Trail Park and Poplar, which is about a $123 million project. It includes 2 office buildings that are 30,000 square feet apiece, 523 space parking garage, and then about 240 luxury multifamily units and 56 brownstone apartments. The reason that this is coming back to you is that the original approval was for a city-backed bond, and the developer has opted for a developer-backed bond, which puts all of the risk on the developer. Ultimately, this is our preferred option for projects. They did choose this option based on some of the desires of their other financiers for their capital stack to work. Primarily with the previous type of bond, it would be a lease rental bond where the city would own the land and the parking garage for the full duration of the bond, the 25 years. And this way, the developer will have full ownership of the land and the parking garage that it is essentially paying for through these bond proceeds and through its additional financing. But again, the ultimate advantage to the city is it is a developer-backed bond. One other point that I want to make is that with the previous bond arrangement, there would have been a municipal building corporation that would be the owner of the parking garage. They will no longer be a party to this agreement because of the developer-backed bond scenario. Brad can talk a little bit more about the details, but I just want everybody to understand why this is not going to go through a municipal building corporation approval like it did the previous time. Brad, if you'd like to cover any of the additional details on the bond financing, please add as you see fit.
Happy to. So thanks again, Janelle. As Janelle mentioned, really in a lot of respects, the parameters are the same in terms of the original ordinance versus what's before you tonight. But she did a great job explaining why. On the original financing, it was contemplated the city's credit would ultimately be backing the bonds. And the only way to do that on economic development revenue bond deals is for there to be a nonprofit building corporation and they would own the asset and then lease it to both the developer and the redevelopment commission. And as Janelle mentioned, because of this pivot back to a more traditional developer purchase bond, which you've seen many times before, there's no longer a need for either the building corporation to be involved or to have a lease component. And it's because of that when we looked at the original approvals, that building corp and the lease were so interwoven with all the approvals and the bond documents, we just decided it's easier to just start over. And so that's the reason for this revised ordinance, which has this repealing language that you see in there. Earlier this evening, the Economic Development Commission held a public hearing. They approved this as well, similar to what they've done in the past. But overall, maximum par amount of the bonds has not changed. It's still the same. Still the same intent to support the development by Old Town at Park and Poplar. But with that, I'm happy to address any particular questions you may have on any of this.
Thank you, Brad. Any questions this evening? Councilor Waniger?
Janelle, I think this building was supposed to have like 523 parking spaces and some of them allocated for city use. Does that still stay in effect?
Yeah, the way that we've handled this project as well as the Grand on Main project is that typically we allow up to 30% of the parking spaces to be reserved if that is the option that the developer chooses over parking passes. For these two parking garages, we have first taken an entire floor of the garage, which is the additional incentive that we've provided to the project to oversize our parking to accommodate our existing businesses. So we first take that floor out of the calculation and then make 30% of the remaining balance available for the developer to reserve if they desire.
And that's memorialized in the PUD or the agreement?
It's in the developer agreement.
Okay. Not incorporated with this.
Correct.
I have a question. So Dennison is managing the garage currently where
At the Union.
At the Union, thank you. And I thought, well, the goal was to kind of spread out those costs over multiple garages over the years.
Yes.
Is Dennison going to manage the other garages in the city, or will that now be determined ultimately by the developer?
Ultimately, the developer will get to choose, but it would be advantageous for them and for the city and for the public for it to all be managed by one organization, as you said, to save in some of those management expenses. So it allows I would say the regular salary type management cost to be spread out over multiple garages within the city. So we have talked with both Skender and BW at the Grand on Main project and Old Town for the Park and Poplar project about using Dennison, and they're in early conversations to execute operating agreements with them.
And we also talked at the last parking garage meeting about utilizing advanced technology, or maybe, automatic in out with bars, instead of how it's done today. I don't know if that jeopardizes those conversations or not. So I'm just curious as to whether a developer would make an investment similar to what the city would make on technology in these garages.
Well, we have already required that they have the advanced technology built into the garages. That was part of the development agreement itself. So the eco parking system that we have implemented at the Union will also be implemented at Grand on Main and at the Park and Poplar project. That allows us, a handful of us at the city have access to the same software that Dennison can see, which shows the amount of time that each parking space has been occupied. That allows Dennison or whoever might be managing any of the garages to know exactly how long a car has been there and whether or not they're in violation of the parking requirements for them to be registered with the system. So it's actually quite a lot more advanced than just having a gate, because you know exactly when a car arrived and when it leaves each individual space, in addition to the LPR technology that reads every license plate coming in and out of the garage.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It would be to the public's benefit too, to have Dennison organizing all of our parking simply due to training customers, utilizing the same processes.
Absolutely.
Payments and so forth. I think our developers know that, but it's something that I know Councilor Deppner, Dart, and myself have taken a harder look at, trying to, as those fixed costs get spread.
Yeah.
So,
This really isn't a question, but just to piggyback on that, something to consider is if they're gonna own this garage, there's revenue sources that are coming in, like at Union, that are helping to pay for the Dennison parking, that we gotta look at that garage, is the revenue sources from the residents that have spaces. We gotta figure out if we're gonna be paying for Dennison, we need to be able to generate some of that revenue back. So, I mean, just something to think about.
To clarify, the Union Garage, the revenues that come in from that garage are held in an escrow to pay for long-term capital improvements to the project. There will eventually need to be sealants that are replaced, repairs to concrete, upgrades to lighting, new technology. So that is all held in an escrow. The projects at Grand on Main and Park and Poplar, all of those responsibilities are on the developer, not on the city. So any income that they bring in from the parking will either offset their operating expenses, or they could do something similar and build an escrow to pay for their long-term capital expenses.
I guess the question is, they're gonna, hopefully, and we don't have to have an answer, but contribute towards the expenses of Dennison to manage their parking to
yes.
generate revenue.
Yes, they would have their own agreement with Dennison for their own parking garage.
Thank you.
Yes.
So we're not only repealing ordinance 25-85, which puts the responsibility of the bond back on the developer, but in this ordinance, it mentions authorizing and approving other actions in respect thereto. What are there, within this ordinance, what else are we approving? So are we putting dollars elsewhere?
No, Brad, can you explain that language?
Yeah, I'll
Thank
jump
you.
in here. So the ordinance itself, in addition to authorizing the bonds, maximum principal amount of 19 million, it also approves the forms of a trust indenture as well as a financing agreement. Again, these are typical bond documents that would have been approved like in other situations. They're required, by statute as well. But it doesn't really speak to, other kind of agreements or other actions outside of the bond issuance themselves.
There's no other actions, is what you're telling me.
it's just standard language.
Okay.
It's those,
Great way to put it. Standard language.
It's
There
just
you
those
go.
damn lawyers.
Thank you.
No offense to Brad, though. Yeah. Any other questions this evening? This is an ordinance that's eligible for adoption this evening. We do need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 26-21 for the issuance of economic development tax increment revenue bonds to support the Park and Poplar project, and for the record, repealing ordinance number 25-85.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor Waniger, seconded by Councilor Dart. Seeing no other discussion this evening, may we call the roll?
Patrick Tam?
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger?
Yes.
John Dart?
Yes.
Joe Deppner?
Yes.
Noah Herron?
Yes.
Chad Huff?
Yes.
Victor McCarty?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Brad. We appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
Next item of business is ordinance 2608, the Trace Commons PUD. We'll have a presentation, I believe, by Director Todd.
Could I cover a couple things first?
Or-
Okay, if you don't
There we
mind,
go.
I'm going to provide just a couple of updates on this project that came in late last week that I just think are really important to be sharing with everyone while you're considering this project. This is a public-private partnership between the Redevelopment Commission and the developer. This is a mixed-use development, a bit different than the others that we've seen. Typically, when we talk about a mixed-use development, we're talking about vertical integration, where we have first-floor retail and we have residential above, or we have office above and retail on the first floor, or some combination thereof. This project, because it's transitioning from State Road 32 to the Midland Trace Trail, is really more horizontally integrated, where we have a transition from retail along State Road 32, where we have busier traffic, to less intense residential along the trail, which it's been very apparent from both planning feedback, residential feedback, and from city council that the preservation of that tree line along the Midland Trace Trail is preserved and enhanced with this development. So we're really trying to honor that step-down effect. This really creates more of a complete neighborhood where we have our residential and we have our commercial and we have access to amenities all in one site. I think that the really interesting information, though, that I received the end of this week, specifically related to the finances on this project, were very positive. We have received updated assessments for 2026, and Bondry reran their scenarios for Trace Commons. And we had previously estimated that our assessed value at the completion of this project is $69 million, or sorry, we previously assumed $59.5 million, and the new number is $69 million. The annual tax increment estimated from the project has increased from $975,000 a year to $1.24 million a year, taken at 2030. And the annual school referendum amount has increased from $109,000 a year to $148,000 a year. Because this project is a 60-40 TIF split, we will have a net income to the city from this project at, again, 2030 numbers of about $496,000 a year. That's net to the city, increment coming in that we can spend on other improvements within the city limits, in addition to the $148,000 per year to the schools. So really, we're talking about almost $650,000 a year net income to the city of Westfield and the schools as a result of this project. The first $1 million of TIF that the city portion collects will be used to fund a new roundabout at Shady Nook. So it's going to take us approximately 2 to 3 years to use the increment from this project to pay for that improvement. So I just wanted to provide that update since we were about 20% higher than the last time I reported here at council. Thank you.
All right, so thank you, members of the council. For the record, Kevin Todd with the Community Development Department. Try not to repeat topics that have already been covered, but I apologize, I might. But the petition in front of you this evening is for adoption consideration for a change of zoning petition called Trace Commons PUD. Subject parcel is approximately 17 acres in size and is generally located on the south side of State Road 32, which on the map on the screen is on the left. And so north is to the left on this map. And it's also on the north side of the Midland Trace Trail, which again is on the right-hand side of the map. Trace Commons PUD is a mixed-use development incorporating commercial, residential, and recreational uses. The project is a complete neighborhood and is a trail-oriented development project activating the Midland Trace Trail. Community-based events and programming will complement the non-residential uses within the district, which are contemplated to be neighborhood-focused. The project will also incorporate a roundabout at State Road 32 and Shady Nook, which again is shown right here. As previously mentioned, this is in front of you this evening for adoption consideration. The item received a public hearing at the Advisory Plan Commission on March the 2nd. Went to a Plan Commission workshop meeting on April the 20th and received a favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission at their meeting last week. Representatives from Church, Hiddle, and Antrim are here this evening and will be providing additional update and overview to the petition this evening. Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. Mr. Skelton.
Good evening, members of the council. For the record, my name is Matt Skelton with Church, Hiddle, and Antrim, with offices at 116 North Union Street here in town. With me this evening is Peter Murphy from Level 2 Development. We were last before you in February for introduction, and I think you all are fairly familiar with this project, so I'm not going to go into the fine granular elements unless there are questions or specific requests. But it's just a reminder, this item does return to you with a unanimous favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission. As noted at the council introduction, this property is zoned general business today. It's more of a higher intensity retail designation. This proposal modifies that and brings it more really in line with the, squarely with the comprehensive plan recommendation that identifies the development of this real estate for trail-oriented development. And I think you all know what that is, so I will not go through those elements. We were also, through the planning process, able to shift some of the buildings around a little bit to increase the amount of outdoor people space that we're providing, specifically outdoor seating areas and plaza spaces. At the introduction, I believe that's when it was, we were requested to limit the number of bank uses that could be located on the real estate. Language to that effect has been incorporated into the PUD ordinance. Tree preservation was also a topic of discussion, and the city had asked us to meet with the Parks Director to review and obtain his input and approval of the way we are interacting and engaging with the Midland Trace Trail. We did in fact do that. The Parks Director was happy with the way we were engaging the trail. He had a request that we follow the city's tree preservation standards. And it wasn't clear the way, we probably would have done this anyway, but it wasn't clear the way it was written before. There is language in the PUD today that specifically requires compliance with the city's tree preservation standards for the tree preservation that is identified on the concept plan. And then lastly, I'll just talk about Area C, which is the townhome area near the Midland Trace Trail. Yes, thank you. I guess mine does work, doesn't it? This area here. And we had received some input from council members asking us to continue our efforts to market and to for sale opportunities for Area C of the PUD. And we have, in fact, agreed to do that. You have commitments. They're attached to your agenda this evening. And they have been executed and received by the city, and they are designed to become effective upon approval of this PUD ordinance. The commitments essentially require, they prohibit for rent dwellings on the property until, unless and until we return to you to request a modification to the PUD, not the PUD, I'm sorry, the commitments to allow that to happen. The other text here, essentially we're mapping out, there's a critical decision point that we will have, and we're calling it the planning and design period. We expect it to be about a year long following this evening, hopefully, if we're approved. And at that time, we really have to make, that's a decision point where we have to know what kind of subsurface improvements and other things that we would need to do depending on what type of dwellings are constructed on that site. But we have agreed in good faith to pursue for sale opportunities during that period, and we can't really do anything else without your permission, the way it's designed. These run to you, the city council, and they're enforceable by the city of Westfield. With that, that concludes my updates. I am happy to respond to any questions that you may have, and we would look forward to your positive consideration this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Skelton. Questions, conversation this evening?
Couple of questions, so it might take a couple of people to answer these. So developer, Jonathan Nail, a couple of people here. So I guess timing of all this, you're going to have a 12-month period for planning period for the building, and then once the building's built, the following year, then we start collecting the funds. What is the timing of the roundabout that would be built with an agreement? I guess agreement hasn't probably been entered into with NDOT yet for a roundabout at Shady Nook and 32.
Yeah, for the record, John Nail. So we have not executed an interlocal agreement with NDOT, but they are working in good faith to draft that interlocal agreement. Construction for the project that would construct that roundabout, in addition to the added travel lanes on 32 between Westfield and Noblesville, is slated for construction starting in 2028. It'll spill into 2029 with final touch-up work in 2030. So that is to say there's still a couple more years before that roundabout would be constructed.
Okay.
John, let me piggyback on that. John, if NDOT, if we approve this tonight and NDOT does not agree to the roundabout, this still gets built, right?
Just to clarify, you're saying if NDOT does not agree to build the roundabout at Shady
Doesn't
Nook?
allow us to do that, yeah.
The original design for the NDOT's project was to not have a roundabout at Shady Nook. Where we came to NDOT was that we felt a roundabout would be very valuable for our residents that live on Shady Nook and want to have full access to be able to turn eastbound onto 32 from that north leg on Shady Nook. Also, this development was at least being contemplated at the time, and we felt an entrance to this development would behoove the development as well. And for that reason, we approached NDOT for that interlocal agreement. They're on board with building the roundabout insofar as the city of Westfield pays the $1 million difference between no roundabout and a roundabout there. So NDOT's on board with it as long as city of Westfield's covering that additional cost, which we feel is a fair deal.
Without this roundabout being built, what's NDOT's original design? Is that a closed median and you have to go to
Correct.
Grassy Branch, or you have to go to
That's
Gray
correct.
Road and come back around?
Yeah, you'd have to make a right onto 32 and go westbound to the Gunther roundabout and then make a U-turn basically. So not ideal for those residents. We think a roundabout there makes a lot of sense.
This might be a question for Mr. Skelton. Is there any kind of commitment in this PUD that the development would be contingent upon the roundabout being built?
It is not. It's beyond our control. I mean, that's all, it's a city agreement with NDOT, and then I don't want to speak on your behalf, but I mean, I think the city, there's other development agreement type of TIF-related agreements that would fund that.
Yeah. And the reason I'm asking this, because I think there's, including myself and some other counselors, that there's some negatives to this project that we don't like, but a lot of people have strong feelings about getting this roundabout. So it's almost like it's coming to us as a package deal, but I think maybe potentially some of us might have a different opinion if the roundabout never happened. So that's why I was looking for some kind of commitment that it's either an all or a nothing.
Yeah, and I mean, so I don't probably need to walk through the logistics of how we, if that was closed, if that was a closed entrance, I mean, you'd have to go down to the next
Right.
roundabout and to be able to go to the left. That's not ideal for us. So I don't know what.
Yeah, and to kind of build on my question too on that, to tag on to his as well, or Councilor Deppner's question there. So if the development, Jonathan and Janelle, moves forward and we approve this development, but the developer does not move forward, but we enter into an agreement with NDOT for this roundabout, where do we get the funds then?
I think we'd have to look at our comprehensive financing plan for our road projects that we have. Obviously, we have a capital improvement project or capital improvement plan that looks out into 2033 at this point. So we'd have to potentially shuffle some projects around to make sure that, and prioritize those projects accordingly. If this roundabout is the higher priority, we need to, maybe bump a project down the list to make sure we can come up with that $1 million to cover the difference.
Okay. And Kevin, question, like I said, I'm gonna bounce around a couple of people here. Kevin, the original zoning for this is currently in place for commercial?
Yep, general business, which is
And for
fairly
someone to move forward with that would just have to come forward with a plan that would be approved?
Yeah, that's correct. Someone could file a development plan essentially, and we would have to approve it if it met all of our design standards.
So maybe something more desirable or less
That's
desirable?
correct. Yeah, there's a wide range of uses that are permitted in GB today.
Okay. I think this might be my last question, but
Never say never.
with the commitment that is being put forward by the developer, why would that not be, Kevin, included with the PUD? And I guess what's the benefit of it being separated out from the PUD or with the PUD? And maybe Matt might be able to answer that as well.
Yeah, I can take a stab and you can poke me if you want, if I say anything inconsistent.
Okay.
So a few reasons. One, this ordinance was certified by the Plan Commission and it comes forward to you as certified, not as certified plus commitments. They can, I've heard of jurisdictions that might reference commitments in their PUD, but that doesn't make them enforceable. What makes them enforceable is, I mean, these have already been executed, and as soon, if this ordinance is approved, they become effective immediately. They are then later recorded in the chain of title on the real estate, and we're required to provide the city with a copy of those. They are they're recorded, they run to the successors, they run with the land, they bind the land, and they're enforceable by the city. That's the way they're written.
I totally agree. They just need to be in writing and recorded. And Kevin, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they usually come separately if they're to the council. Because
That's
like
right.
Matt explained.
And this gets into a topic that really isn't a land use discussion when you talk about ownership versus rental. That really is outside of zoning purview, so we try to keep these things separate for that reason also.
Didn't quite answer my question, but you did answer it. I guess if it's part of the PUD, it's out of the council's jurisdiction after that. If it's part of a commitment that's with this, then they have to come back to us for that approval.
Yeah, I don't know, this isn't going to answer you directly, but one is a public law, and one is, think of it more like a covenant. It's a covenant being made from level 2 development to the city, to the council specifically, enforceable by the city. I think one of the reasons why a provision like this, another reason why it may not make sense to be in a PUD is because it contains restrictions that would not otherwise be enforceable by the city had we not granted the permission for them to be enforceable.
Just to kind of re-edify that, in section 1 of the trace crossing commitments, it's section 1B. The key, I mean, you got 1 and 2, so it's a two-parter, but the key item is and in front of the 2, so you have to do both. Yep. Yeah, thanks. So that's the key piece of how to read that. So
that's right.
That's why it's in a separate document, at least in my belief, Caitlin. I mean, you're the city attorney. You tell me what to think there.
No, I agree with everything you guys have been saying. To me, this seems the standard process we've been using, and it's certainly legal and enforceable.
Why is the 12 months in the commitments? Because, I mean, whether it's 13 months or 9 months, you still have to come back. So I just don't know why we're putting a length on it. Because, I mean, if you don't succeed in getting them for sale, no matter what, you have to come back to us. So I just don't know why we're including the 12 months.
Really, it's just to be communicative, because there is a decision point where there has to be a decision made about what gets built there. Level 2 does not build for sale product. So somebody else will have to be identified, or there will have to be another concept or something for area C. And if that's the case, we have to come back and get your permission to do that, and we'd have to be working with the city. I know you guys are about to start a study on how to meet that missing middle, and maybe there's something that can fold in there, so.
So did I hear a straight answer that the commitments have to come back in front of the city council?
Yes.
Yeah, it's even written.
It's written in the document.
Yeah, it's even written.
So I think, Matt, you and others know how many of the council members feel about multifamily. And there's always discussions when there's a mixed-use development, what comes first, the housing or the commercial? Some would say you got to have the housing first to support the commercial. Others would say get the commercial and the residences will come later. You could sit and discuss that all day. Have there been discussions with the developer about how they plan to proceed, what they would build first?
We have not had discussions like that.
Well, and the reason I ask is, and others I think feel the same way, is that the residences get built first, the apartments get built first, and then we go, well, you know, we're having a hard time finding the businesses to support it, or it's 4 years down the road, and all we've got, again, are multifamily units. And I guess the question is it possible to build the businesses first and residences behind it? I'd just like to understand your thought process.
And I did one clarification. These are mixed-use vertical buildings, so there's commercial on the bottom floor. So when the building's built, the whole building is built.
Yeah,
at the same
but I
time.
think what the,
You're talking about the front?
what the
The
consumer
outlines.
is going to see
The
is
outlines.
what's up front, and that's what's going to be facing the road. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the question.
Uh-huh.
The plan today is, as soon as we have, we hope, an approval, is to begin marketing all of the commercial spaces, both those in the vertical buildings and the standalone buildings, to potential businesses as soon as possible. The longer we have, the more success we have in finding those folks who are willing to come in and say, I know this is still a picture on paper, but I believe in this vision and I want to be a part of it. It's a really challenging sell, but the more time we have, we put a lot of effort into trying to find a couple of anchors to really make that successful. From there, we anticipate the entire site being prepared at the same time. We don't anticipate, moving dirt and causing construction traffic just to start building the mixed-use building and to come back later. We want to do the entire site at once. Our hope is to build the 3 commercial buildings up front, as well as the 2 mixed-use buildings, all as really one project. We want those to come together. We think the residents who will live in those buildings provide the support the businesses need to be comfortable opening, and the businesses provide the amenities that make the residents want to live there. So our goal is to deliver them all at the same time. But in an absolute worst-case scenario, like Matt said, nearly a third of the commercial space is physically in the same buildings and will be built 100% guaranteed on the same schedule as the apartments. That commercial will not get left behind.
Have there been any discussions, on a little bit different topic, have there been any discussions with the owner of Jeff's Storage? And the reason I ask is that it seems to be having this development here and then a storage facility in between that and the Kroger complex doesn't fit well with my eyes, if you will, and I'm curious as to what the long-term plan is there, if you have one.
Yeah, so we have had conversations. At the time we spoke with them, they were not interested in selling, but I believe Mr. Wanninger asked that we make sure that we are providing frontage road connection opportunity across that property that would tie into the frontage road that's over, I forget what the businesses are, but behind Wendy's in the Kroger area. So there would be a through street eventually. I do think there's an opportunity, and I think I've spoken with the owner fairly recently, and I know that they're consulting with a realtor, but there's no immediate plan to sell. And I mean, as you folks probably know, these storage businesses are, they're fairly lucrative businesses.
So can that frontage road be put in without acquisition?
No. We're going to provide a stub, so when that does, it will redevelop someday.
Yeah, guys, and remember also, there's still not many, but there's still a few parcels in downtown Carmel that haven't flipped. It takes time, but you got to get the ball rolling. You get redevelopment going, and eventually these other older sites will come on board. It could be 5 years, it could be 20 years. We just don't know, but to be paralyzed not to do anything, I can assure you nothing's going to redevelop at that storage place if we do nothing in this area. This has to happen first, and then you get momentum for redevelopment when they see the value of the land and they see the area transforming. Oftentimes, these types of developments will come on board.
And just for the record, I need you to state your name and address,
about that.
or Marla's going to kill me.
Peter Murphy, Level 2 Development. The other thing is that we were aware of feelings around the aesthetics of the storage facility, and we've provided for significant tree buffer along that entire frontage to provide some screening in the interim as we hope it will get developed.
I just want to give my final overall comments on this before we vote. My concerns are with the roundabout and it not being guaranteed. Obviously, we know NDOT is its own animal in itself. That's probably the best part, at least from a city perspective, that I see from this project, and it's not guaranteed to happen. So that's a concern of mine. I'm all for the commercial. I don't think there's any issue with building commercial here along State Road 32 as the commercial extends west and east on this road for quite some time. I have some concerns with the freestanding 304 unit apartment building. And I say freestanding because we keep calling it mixed use because it's got one piece of residential or two pieces there tied in, just so we can call it that. To me, it's a freestanding apartment building, and I don't think the constituents of this area want that freestanding 304 apartment building there. That's just my opinion. As for townhomes, I've had this discussion in the past with some other projects that come forward along the Midland here. Basically from Union all the way to Gray Road is just littered with townhomes. I think we've overbuilt townhomes along this area, and I just don't think we need more there. And that's my final thoughts. Thank you.
Any questions, comments?
Yeah, the last thing I'll say, Matt, tree preservation.
Yep.
Do we have that on 3 sides?
It's along this side, this entire side. There's an area here, and did I hit them all, Peter? Yes. There's a stand here, and all along here. This is the Midland, and then all along that western.
Do we know what that buffer distance is for the tree preservation?
The depth of the tree preservation buffer along the trail is between 27 and 50 feet.
Okay.
Is it?
Yeah.
Can we show that later? Is that part of it?
Yeah, it's okay. That doesn't include. I'm sorry. That doesn't include the portion of the linear park within the Midland too.
Right.
So.
A request I would have for the tree preservation, I don't know about the rest of the counselors, but my email's been pretty full here lately with maybe assumptions of what they thought they were going to get with a certain project with residents versus what actually came out. Kevin, I've been in contact with you a handful of times in the last month. I think we should probably be a little bit more proactive in our approach for tree preservation so that there's a delineation between what stays and what goes. I know it makes construction sometimes a little bit harder, but I think this would be a great project to receive that, which would be essentially a fence that's set up that defines what can and can't be cut. I know even on one of our own projects at the fire station, we lost a whole row of trees at 84s because just lack of communication. But if a fence goes up before anything's cut, then it solves some of those issues, and it sets a clear expectation of what the residents are gonna get, and then it also puts liability back on the developer of saying, hey, you crossed the fence.
So, a couple things. Number one, today along the Midland Trace Trail, there lies a county-regulated drain easement. And so, as part of this project, we are redesigning the entire drainage of that area, and we're going to be able to vacate that county-regulated drain. So the risk that exists today of that being clear-cut, just one day, you just wake up and it's gone. You've seen that.
I have.
That will not happen. And so we have a very detailed landscaping plan. It's part of your materials that we've committed to. And in addition to that, we were asked by the Plan Commission to provide an image. And this is not just they spent a lot of time trying to identify what it would really look like. I mean, what we had shown before, gosh darn it, these are all different. This was the view from the Midland, but not because we were clearing all the trees. We just wanted you to be able to see the townhomes. And in fact, though, this is what it would likely look like after the tree preservation standards are applied, and then we supplement with additional plantings.
Okay, I don't know if that really answers my question.
So what? Okay.
I'm not asking for a permanent fence if that was the impression.
Protect.
I'm talking about like a snow fence, like an orange snow fence on some green T-post stuck in the ground before anything's cut.
Yeah, sure. We can do that.
I agree with you, Chad. I got those emails, and once it's cut, it's not replaceable. And so we're just protecting it. That's all we're after. Yeah.
And this question really from council and even myself, it's not because of a project that you're involved in. We're trying to address issues that have unfortunately happened.
Yeah.
So
I can't speak to that project, but I can tell you after seeing the quote for the tree removal on the rest of the property, I have no interest in clearing any more trees than we absolutely have to. And I'll also tell you that our interests are really aligned. We're going to have townhomes selling for significant dollars, and much of the value for those townhomes is going to be a beautiful tree buffer looking right out of your front window. And so this is not something that it benefits us to clear. We want this preserved. We want the privacy. We know how important it is to the community, and it's important to us as well.
Yeah, no, it's normally never a benefit to the developer. It's just the construction crews working on the site that are like, hey, it'd be easier if these trees weren't in my way. And
yeah.
So.
And keep in mind too, like Lantern Commons, it's one that usually sticks out for everybody because I was on council when that got approved, and I was shocked when I saw the trees going down. The tree preservation program we have now, the city has a role in identifying trees. And quite frankly, they're charged a pretty, as he mentioned, it's a pretty hefty fine if they start just leveling trees. So the tree preservation program, I think, is going to be an incentive to retain as many of our trees as possible. Not every tree can be retained, but they'll be paying a price if they take it down. And I appreciate you all passing that, and that will help us with some of the heartaches we've had in past developments. In saying that, there's always mistakes that are made, and just look at our fire station, but that developer is paying a price for that. So at the end of the day, we do have recourse when that does happen.
Any other questions, comments this evening? John Nail, I think he may have gone back. Walk me through the interlocal agreement. I think there's some general misunderstanding or could be here. So you've approached NDOT, talked about the roundabout. They've agreed to allow a roundabout to be constructed.
Yes.
But we have to cover the cost, which in this case would be funded off a project, if you will, TIF. But at this point, there's nothing that NDOT has done. Have they signed the interlocal agreement, or is there an interlocal agreement to be signed because we don't have any funding at this point?
They're in the process of drafting that interlocal agreement, but to Councilor Dubner's concern, they have already spent a great deal of time and energy designing this roundabout into the plans that they are developing for the added
So
travel
they already
project.
have design costs sunk in.
Included it in the environmental document or environmental assessment, or at least considerations for it in the environmental assessment. There's been real work done towards designing this roundabout already. So any concern that NDOT may not follow through on that, I think is not a concern I share, because as long as the city of Westfield is coming to the table for the additional $1 million that they've identified as the difference between what they were proposing and what we're wanting, the roundabout's going to get built.
So they have, in layman's terms, they have sunk costs already into this project as well?
That's correct.
Okay.
I just wanted to piggyback on that one of the other components is that the NDOT is making land acquisition offers to all the property owners to whom they're going to need to purchase a portion, the strip along the front for the widening. And so they'll be making those offers based on the outline of the roundabout. It's a different size parcel that they'll be purchasing than if they're just making the road without it. So we know that they've prepared those offers based on this, so we feel very confident that they're...
So they're already in land acquisition to accommodate.
Yeah, they're negotiating that with the current property owners, so we're not privy to all the specifics, but we know that the outlines of the parcels they've been discussing with us, they contemplate this.
You said $1 million. I mean, is that pretty accurate? I mean, plus or minus a certain amount?
Yeah, we reviewed it. We think it's a fair price to pay for the roundabout. It's an accurate reflection of the difference between what was originally proposed and what we have agreed
So that's
should
set
be
in
designed.
stone, the $1 million?
It's $1 million was the negotiated amount for that interlocal. And like I said, they're just in the process of drafting that interlocal agreement, which will come to you once NDOT has signed it for execution between both parties.
As long as fuel prices don't go up any higher.
We're not in control of that.
No comment there.
Any other questions, discussion this evening? This is eligible for adoption this evening. We do need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 26-08, Trace Commons Beauty.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor McCarty, seconded by Councilor Huff. Seeing no other discussion, may we call the roll?
Kurt Wanninger,
Yes.
John Dart,
No.
Joe Deppner,
No.
Noah Herron,
Yes.
Chad Huff,
Yes.
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-2.
Thank you. The next order of business is ordinance 2609, 199th Street and Monon PUD Amendment 1. Director Todd?
Yeah, thank you again. Good evening. For the record, Kevin Todd with the Community Development Department. This item before you this evening is another proposed PUD or PD amendment actually for a little over 7 acres on the south side of 199th Street, west of the Monon Trail. Nearly directly across, well, really across from a portion of the previously approved 199th and Monon PUD that was approved last year. As you may recall, this proposal would add this acreage to the existing PUD area A within that PUD from a previously approved development that controls the development standards of the property, so it would follow the same development standards of the existing project to the north. This item received its public hearing also on March 2nd at the Planning Commission meeting and workshop on April 20th, and received a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission at their May 6th meeting. Since the council introduction, there's been a handful of changes that have been made to this proposal. Quickly summarizing them is a reduction in the number of lots from 15 to 14, the addition of a community gathering area, additional tree preservation and buffer standards or updated standards, and also the addition of sidewalk and street trees to the east side of the new street that would be built in this development. John Dubshewitz of Nelson and Frankenberger is here this evening, does not plan to make a presentation, but is available if you have any questions. Thanks.
Any questions, comments about this proposal? Councilor Deppner?
No.
Oh, you just hand faked me.
Could somebody address the concern from a resident by the name of Thomas Curtis? Mr. Curtis had emailed the council about some concerns that his family had regarding this development, and I'm just curious if you've talked to him, Mr. Curtis, and how his issue is being addressed.
Mr. Curtis provided testimony. I apologize. John Dobashewitz for the record with Nelson and Frankenberger. We represent the applicant. On behalf of the applicant here this evening is Nick Voivodich, as well as Jim Schinner, an attorney with our office. Mr. Curtis communicated his concerns to the Planning Commission. Those concerns were taken into consideration along with other public comments. That resident lives here, and our client also reached out and had a discussion with Mr. Curtis. His preference, if I may, would be for an additional lot to be removed adjacent to his house.
So how will this expansion impact his home?
The expansion of the development in this area will, if we go to our presentation slides, I can show you. There we go. There's an existing area of trees which exist on the subject site in this vicinity, as well as a mound. So along the east perimeter of the site, there's a mound that straddles the property line today, and that mound will be extended. And the extension of that mound will be in the area dashed in yellow here. There'll be additional shade and evergreen trees at a rate of 8 trees and 10 shrubs for every 100 feet added to that area. That mound extension comes down across the front of and adjacent to the Curtis home. In addition to that, along this whole extent of mound, there'll be additional trees planted at an additional rate of 4 trees per every 100 feet where it's already planted today, but that extension receives the higher planting standard in that vicinity. There was also some discussion about the connection of the trail within the adjacent development within Aberdeen to the sidewalk within this development. And that wasn't something that the HOA and our client reached a
a desire on either party to have that sidewalk connect, so that wasn't discussed further by the parties, and we've got communication from the HOA as late as Friday that just thanked our client for their efforts and looked forward to the remainder of the development process regarding the overall development of the real estate.
Okay. So the APC felt that adequate mounding and trees were being put in place?
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of that discussion. I didn't talk much or at all at the last one that we just had, Trace Commons, just because everything that was being said, I pretty much echoed that at the planning commission process. I didn't want to repeat things, but on this one, I'll jump in and just kind of recap Thomas's concerns, as well as some surrounding neighbors. I do want to iterate that even though this is only 14 lots now, we did receive over 40, upwards of 50 emails from residents being against this development at the Planning Commission. What was difficult for me, because I do agree with them that I wanted to see as much preservation as possible with this lot, because it would be potentially possible to only put 4 or 5 lots here of the 12 acres, but unfortunately that's not what is before us. So as Mr. Dobowitz illustrated, with the red line that you can see on the border there, that's the tree preservation buffer. When this was first presented, I did go out there and measure myself just to see if what the petitioner was saying lined up with what is currently out there. Relatively, it does. To the residents' concern, though, the additional lot that was highlighted, that would be appreciated to be removed. And the whole sticking point for that was then to create sort of a cul-de-sac, so that way the road is not, when people are driving on it, the lights aren't necessarily going into the resident's home, as well as to add a connecting trail from what the petitioner added around the lake up to 100, or not the lake, the retention pond up to 199th, and connect that with the Aberdeen Trail. But as was illustrated, there's some disagreement with the HOA board. The majority of the members feel that it would not be in the best interest of the existing residents to have that connecting trail. So unfortunately, that's then kind of the rock and the hard place we're in of, well, the neighboring HOA, they don't want to see that additional lot removed, so that's why it's still there today. And then just to further highlight, off of the existing Aberdeen Trail, as well as there on the west side of the development, there's an estimated 60-foot tree preservation, or at least a 60-foot buffer area. You have the 20 feet of tree preservation easement, the 20 feet of additional landscaping buffer, and then the 20 feet behind the new homes where the new homeowners will not be able to be built. That's what that diagram there shows. So yes and no, that the Planning Commission is amenable to what is presented here, because of course there are certain nuances that individuals would like to have seen changed, but they're just going to be an agreement come to with that.
So the Planning Commission requested a roundabout, but the developer did not want to put one in?
No, it was a request out of the neighboring homeowners, but it was the HOA board, the Aberdeen HOA, that does not want to have that connector trail, which is what would have eliminated that additional lot.
I mean, is there a possibility that headlights are going to be going into the back of this person's house? Because I think the buffer, does it kind of end, the mounding ends before that, and then it's just kind of you pick to choose
the mounding
trees
ends,
there.
but we have written into the ordinance that there'll be additional landscape screening at the termination of the turnaround. So there'll be a hedgerow and plantings at the termination of that turnaround, as well as in that vicinity along so there's the adjoining resident and their side yard. There's a 20-foot common area within the adjoining development that has existing trees, and then we're bringing the mound up to where the existing trees start on our site with an additional 20 feet of tree preservation, and then a drainage for the adjacent lot before you get to it. So there's 60 feet plus a side yard for the adjoining resident, the dimension to the closest home. And within that space, there's existing trees within that space. We're preserving 20, there's trees existing on their common area. And we're bringing the mound down to where those trees start and adding landscaping on top of the mound. In addition to that, we're going to put hedges or shrubs at the termination of the turnaround, so headlights, they'll be evergreen variety, not deciduous, so they provide year-round screening.
Is that all documented?
Yes, sir. I want to bring up one other thing. To the extent that Mr. Huff had brought up questions regarding additional efforts to provide, to make sure there's not errors made in tree preservation, our client indicated that they would be agreeable to putting up a temporary fence before constructions to occur, review that with staff to make sure it's appropriately placed, so that there's no, it reduces the possibility for there being an error. We think that's a good idea. We will identify that on the preliminary development plan that'll come back in front of the Plan Commission as a public hearing item, so the neighbors will have an opportunity to see those plans.
Thank you for mentioning that. I was going to jump back in here and make that request, so I appreciate you being proactive with that, because I know that is a big concern for many of us in the Northwest, but also just in Westfield in general. And then one last element, just wanted to touch on, since we haven't mentioned it yet, the curve of 199th there. Yes, unfortunately, there's going to be some trees removed, but at the time, when the time comes to make enhancements to 199th, which thankfully the street department, Public Works were able to get that agreement with the county last year to make those much needed improvements. I mean, it's a night and day difference versus what it was a year ago. But eventually that curve is going to be softened in order to help with the visibility of 199th.
Any other questions this evening? This ordinance is eligible for adoption this evening. We need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 26-09 for 199th Street and Monon PUD Amendment Number 1.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Waniger, second by Councilor Huff. Seeing no other discussions, may we call the roll?
John Dart,
Yes.
Joe Deppner,
Yes.
Noah Herron,
Yes.
Chad Huff,
Yes.
Victor McCarty,
Yes.
Patrick Tam,
Yes.
Kurt Waniger.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Next order of business is ordinance 2616, which is the Westfield Playhouse PUD Amendment 1. Director Todd.
Yeah, you guys are stuck with me a little bit this evening. My apologies.
There's worse things.
Good evening again. For the record, Kevin Todd with the Community Development Department. This item before you is another plan unit development. This is an amendment to the existing Westfield Playhouse plan unit development, which is neighboring to this property. Subject real estate is roughly 1.7 acres in size, located at 302 North Union, just north of the Playhouse building. The proposed ordinance would add real estate to the PUD district and permit 2 commercial office buildings to be developed on the property. The ordinance includes site-specific development standards, architectural elevations, a site plan, and a landscape plan, which all require substantial conformance at the time of development. The item received a unanimous favorable recommendation at the May 6th Plan Commission meeting and is eligible for adoption consideration this evening. The petitioner is here this evening and plans to make a brief presentation. Both petitioner and I are available for questions should you have any at the end. Thanks.
Good evening, members of the council. Again, Matt Skelton with Churchill and Antrim. With me this evening is John Schaff with Schaff CPA Group. I will just provide a cut. We were just before you at the end of March, so I will just highlight the few changes that have occurred since we were last before you. Number one, there's been a provision added to the PUD that restricts the possible uses on the property down to just office uses. It was defaulting to LBH, and so now it's just office. The landscaping plan, the Plan Commission had asked us to consider adding, if we can, an additional street tree, and I can really, here, I'll do it.
Okay.
And so that's been done. There were 4, there are now 5. And then additionally, we were asked to consider substituting in some evergreen plantings around the base of the building just to provide some year-round softening. And so that has, in fact, been done, and it's easy to see where those are. They have the different demarcations, so. And then lastly, as part of our DDP submission, we were asked to provide an executed copy of the parking agreement for shared parking with the church behind us. Yeah, the parking behind us, and that has been, in fact, been done, and the city is in receipt of it. With that, that concludes my updates, and we are happy to receive any questions that you may have and would appreciate your favorable consideration.
Any questions for Mr. Skelton? Councilor Dart?
Yeah, so the way this is written, it states that property owners and/or lessees may receive real property tax abatement as well as personal property tax abatement. Why do we, this is just for real estate abatement request, right?
Are you talking about the zoning petition?
Yeah, that's a separate topic.
Oh,
This
just the
is-
zoning? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
My partner will address your question when we get to that one.
I'll hold off. Yeah, I'll hold off.
Any other questions this evening? So this ordinance is eligible for adoption. We need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve ordinance 26-16.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Huff, second by Councilor Herron. Seeing no other.
I'm going
Go
to
ahead.
recuse myself from voting on these issues.
Okay. So Councilor Dart's asked to be recused, just for the record as well, on this ordinance and the next one too, I'm assuming. Okay, thank you. Seeing no other discussion, may I call the roll?
Joe Deppner?
Yes.
Noah Herron?
Yes.
Chad Huff?
Yes.
Victor McCarty?
Yes.
Patrick Tam?
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. The next order of business is ordinance 2623, the Common Council of the City of Westfield, Indiana, authorizing and approving additional appropriation for the operating balance of the GPSC escrow fund to the Grand Park Shared Escrow Fund. And once again, we have Mr. Deck with a microphone. May Lord have mercy on our soul.
Not too close.
City Council
Not too close.
President Tam, would you like to do the public hearing before I speak or after?
We can go ahead. Why don't you go ahead and introduce it, and then we'll do the public hearing. Thank you.
For the record, Matthew Deck, Director of Community Engagement for the City of Westfield, and I am here before you to request that you approve appropriating the dollars from Fund 642 so that they can be made available for use, which is the shared escrow between the City of Westfield and Grand Park Sports and Entertainment. And just as a brief update, GPSC or the City of Westfield can request to use those funds. They will need to fill out a form that has been generated and approved by both parties. That form will be submitted to the Grand Park Advisory Committee, and the request will be made officially in front of the Grand Park Advisory Committee, which is comprised of two city councilors. The committee will then make their recommendation to the mayor, and then both the mayor and GPSC will need to agree to the request before the funds are approved. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Is this just for this year, or is this ongoing?
So each year, we will need to appropriate the funds that are available in Fund 642.
And Mr. Deck did a really, frankly, a pretty succinct explanation of the process too, so thank you, Matt.
Of course.
Any other questions this evening? We're going to go ahead and go into the public hearing. It is 8:19 p.m. this evening. Mr. Plankis is not here to head fake me this evening, which I appreciate, although I like seeing Joe. We're going to go ahead and close the public hearing at 8:20 p.m., so we'll continue. Any questions, discussion for Mr. Deck this evening? Seeing none, this is eligible for adoption this evening. We need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve ordinance 26-23.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor Councilor McCarty, seconded by Councilor Wanninger. Seeing no other discussion, may we call the roll?
Noah Herron,
Yes.
Chad Huff,
Yes.
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger.
Yes.
John Dart.
Yes.
Joe Deppner.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Deck. New business now, this is a resolution, Resolution 26-130, approving the form and execution of proposed First Amendment to Development Agreement, Lantern Commons, Front Street. We still have Mr. Bingham on the line, or Janelle, are you?
I'm not sure whether Brad is still on the line or not, but I will
Yeah,
do my.
I am
my
here.
best. Okay.
I'm still here.
All right,
Fine
Brad,
with me.
I will do my best, and then you can add more context as necessary. Again, Janelle Fairman, Executive Chief of Economic and Community Development. This is an amendment to a development agreement that was executed under the previous administration for the Lantern Commons development. This is the master development. There are a handful of developments that we are bringing to you within the Lantern Commons area, but this is the first development agreement which governed the bond that was used to build this street through the middle of the development. Because that development agreement was a tri-party agreement, we are bringing it to council to be updated. And the reason that we're updating it is that there are some very complicated modifications that have been made to the taxpayer agreements in the past that we are now updating once again because the Lantern Gateway project is going to be partially funding the new TIF from the Lantern Gateway project, which will come as an economic development area or a new allocation area within the existing sorry, let me say that again. It will come as a new allocation area within the existing economic development area. We'll have a portion of the TIF and all of the road impact fees from Lantern Gateway applied toward the original road bond. And then there would be additional TIF generated on that development because they're increasing the overall density. It's a higher and better use of the site. That additional TIF will be used to incentivize public improvements within the new development, which is the Gateway project in Lantern Commons. So to put this simply, the original bond documents need to be modified in order for only a portion of the TIF from Lantern Gateway to apply toward the road bond so that the balance of TIF dollars can be used towards the Lantern Gateway project. Brad, did I say that
Yes,
correctly?
you-
Okay.
You did.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. So we have had extensive conversations with the municipal advisors, both developers, all of the lawyers, running numbers, making sure that we have adequate coverage for the original bond, which is a developer-backed bond, by the way. The city is not on the hook for that bond. That is developer-backed. We have ensured that every parcel within Lantern Commons is submitting adequate tax dollars to pay the original debt service on the original bond before modifying the bond documents, which are coming forward to you in this resolution. And Brad, I hope that you can pick up any other technical details that I've missed.
Yeah, you've really nailed it. I mean, the overall, the way I think about it is, as you mentioned, in 2023, the city issued a developer purchase bond to fund the road improvements. And as part of that, the entire area was created as an allocation area. And now we're coming back to create new separate allocation areas within the overall area. And we need the bondholders' consent, the master developer's consent before we can make those changes. That 2023 deal, there was a development agreement and the city was a party to that. And I think, as Janelle may have mentioned, that's not always the case. I mean, like in deals we're doing today, it's usually between the redevelopment commission and the developer. But in this case, the city was a party. Hence, we felt it appropriate to bring this to the council for your approval for this amendment to the development agreement. But overall, that's the purpose of this, is to get the 2023 bondholder, the master developer, to agree and consent to these changes we need in order to incentivize these other developments within the Lantern Commons EDA.
Any questions or comments this evening?
Just so I understand, there's a large EDA.
Yes.
We're trying to put that into sub-EDAs, but we need the developer to agree.
Yes, there will be individual allocation areas for a handful of the lots. So to put it simply, there are 4 lots that are identified within Lantern Commons, and each one of them has an estimated gross tax increment that would be required to be applied toward the original 2023 bonds. Of the amount that is brought in, so the tax increment that is brought in from each of those 4 lots, 80% of that increment will be applied toward the bond, the original bond. But that amount, that pledged amount, will be limited based on the original debt coverage requirements. We are not going to add the additional increment that's coming in from the increased density in Lantern Gateway, for example, to pay off the original bond.
So if I can really cut to the chase, so what was planned originally was going to generate X. What is now being planned is going to generate X plus. The plus is not going to go to the original bond agreement. It's going to go to a different allocation area.
Correct.
Just because it's mixed use and it's density. I mean, I have to explain stuff to legislators, so I try to work hard to explain it to myself, so. But that, it really, I mean, it's a better and greater use that we've approved, and because it's generating more than what was originally anticipated years ago, we're actually making sure we're utilizing those dollars for another project. I mean, I think that makes it simple for me. That's how I've explained it to myself.
You got it exactly right.
Okay.
What does that say about me? It took 3 of you to understand it.
She just kept on using all the technical terms, and I'm just used to using English.
I understand now.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments this evening? No, I don't. Okay. This is eligible, this is a resolution this evening, so it is eligible for adoption this evening. We need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 26-130 for approving form and execution of a proposed First Amendment to the Development Agreement for Lantern Commons.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor Waniger, seconded by Councilor McCarty. Seeing no other discussion, may we call the roll?
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Patrick Dan.
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger.
Yes.
John Dart.
Yes.
Joe Deppner.
Yes.
Noah Herron.
Yes.
Chad Huff.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Resolution 26-131, which is amendments to the declaratory resolution for Lantern Commons EDA and the creation of the Gateway TIF allocation area. Brad?
Yeah, so happy to jump in here, and then Janelle, if you have any follow-up, feel free to chime in. This is really a carry-on to the previous resolution. So this is, again, we've already started taking action to create the new allocation area for Gateway project, and this is in what's called Lot 2 of the overall master development plan. But again, this is, as you've seen before, we amend the original declaratory resolution to create a site-specific, project-specific allocation area, and that's what this resolution would do.
Any questions or conversation this evening?
Janelle, do you know when they're going to break ground?
I don't have a date confirmed, and the reason is the resolution that I just brought to you has taken an extraordinary amount of time to figure out, and so we haven't been able to take the next step forward until we had that math all worked out and we had the agreement of the former developer. So hoping that it will start soon, but I don't have an exact break ground date for you.
Any other comments this evening? This is a resolution that's eligible for adoption this evening. We do need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 26-131 for the amendments to the declaratory resolution for Lantern Commons EDA and creation of the Gateway TIF allocation area.
Second.
A motion made by Councilor Waniger, seconded by Councilor Dart. Seeing no other discussion, may we call the roll?
Chad Huff.
Yes.
Victor McCarty?
Yes.
Patrick Tam?
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger?
Yes.
John Dart?
Yes.
Joe Deppner?
Yes.
Noah Herron?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
And the next item of business is Resolution 26-114, which is the Common Council declaring the designation of an economic revitalization area and preliminary approving the deduction from assessed value of new real property improvements. This evening, joining us is Chuck Abram.
Good evening, Chuck Haberman, Director of Economic Development, City of Westfield. As you said, this is a resolution declaring a new economic revitalization area in order to allow the first steps of tax abatement for SHOF CPA groups, new office buildings. So the project is a 9,000 square foot, 2-story HQ building that will be occupied by SHOF CPA Group, 15 retained jobs, 20 new jobs with an average annual salaries of $86,000 plus benefits. The total real property investments, $5.2 million, excluding land cost. The project's anticipated to start July 1st, 2026, with an estimated completion and delivery time of December 31st, 2027. After reviewing all the details of this project, the Economic Development Department is recommending a 10-year declining real abatement property for this expansion project. Some of the benefits of this project is bringing new tax revenue to the city that was previously not on the books. It will go from an assessed value of $76,000 to $1.35 million. So that's generating an estimated property tax from $75 to $35 to $35,000 annually for the city. Obviously, this is a great business retention and expansion project in our efforts to keep community businesses in the community. And it also aligns with the downtown master plan. These types of investment reflects the intent, and by creating more office space and employees in our downtown area and growing density. So the next steps would be, upon approval tonight, the confirmatory resolution and public hearing that would come at the following meeting. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
So Chuck, you said it was, the assessed value is $76,000
Correct.
today. It's owned by a church though currently, correct?
Correct.
So they're not paying property taxes on this whatsoever, rightfully so. Let me make sure that's loud and clear. But at the same time, so that's the AV, but really we're receiving zero. So it's even a greater impact,
Yeah.
if you will.
So it's effectively going from 0 to 35,000 each year.
Thank you. Any questions, Chuck? I mean, I think it's his maiden voyage, so I mean, we can unleash if we'd all like to, so.
Bring it on. It's not my first battle.
No, it's not. Seeing no other discussion, this is a resolution this evening, so it is eligible for adoption. We do need a motion and a second. So, yeah, for 26-114.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 26-114 for the economic revitalization area.
Second.
A motion made by Councilor Wanninger, seconded by Councilor Herron. Would like to remind our clerk treasurer, I believe Councilor Dart's recusing himself from this resolution as well. Thank you.
Victor McCarty?
Yes.
Patrick Tam?
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger?
Yes.
Joe Deppner?
Yes.
Noah Herron?
Yes.
Judd Huff?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. The next item of business is Resolution 26-125, which is the Common Council of the City of Westfield, Indiana, approving Vino Bar as a temporary designated permittee within the downtown Westfield designated outdoor refreshment area. Kevin, Kevin, you're making a brief presentation on this.
I am, and if it's okay, if we can maybe present this item and the next item
Yeah,
together, they're very similar. We can get specific about the different events, and obviously I think voting will need to be separately, but.
Voting would have to be separate, but we'll have the conversation over both Resolution 26-125 and Resolution 26-126.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, so again, for the record, Kevin Todd, Community Development Department. These two items are resolutions in order to bring two different entities into our downtown Dora district as a temporary vendor. So for Resolution 26-125, as mentioned, the Vino Mobile Bar, and then Resolution 26-126, Hollow Head Brewing. Approving this would allow these entities the ability to use Dora cups and take advantage of all other applicable provisions of being part of a Dora district on the dates specified in these resolutions. Easy for me to say, specifically, for Vino Mobile Bar Resolution 26-125, they're looking to be here for the Westfield Farmers Market starting May 14th through September 3rd. Those are Thursday evening events. And also would like to participate in the Westfield International Festival, which is May 16th. And then the next resolution, Hollowhead is looking to join us at Jams at the Junction on July 17th and August 28th. And then also on December 5th for Westfield and Lights.
And if I can add into this as well, so, because I know there was some concern, and I echoed it as well. I have made calls into our local businesses in that area about a similar type of setup. I do believe Scott Wolf's going to participate in some of these events. I don't think he'll participate in all of them, but no other restaurants at this time were willing to participate. So I don't feel like we're stepping on him by his toes by doing something like this. And we have been in close contact again with the local businesses to make sure that they're aware of this and that they have options to participate as well.
Well, I respectfully disagree with you there, Mayor. I've talked to two businesses. I won't mention them here, but I'll mention them to you offline, and they are very much against this. Yes, they have the option to participate, but why would somebody who's got a brick and mortar location within feet away from the farmer's market invest in a mobile bar or a tent when somebody can walk, like I said, 50, 100 feet to get a drink? I think we are at a point where we need to step up and start supporting the brick and mortar businesses in Westfield, specifically on Park Street. The businesses on Park Street and around Park Street have suffered dearly during State Road 32 construction. They are going to continue to suffer, hopefully not as bad, but they're going to continue to suffer a bit with the reconstruction of Park Street, which is going to ultimately be fantastic. They will continue to suffer with Park and Poplar and the Grand project that's underway right now. And I'm not against other businesses coming into Grand Junction Park. I think it helps drive more variety for the consumers who visit the farmers market and other events. But I don't think now is the right time to do that. Not until our businesses on Park Street get their feet back on the ground. The other thing is that these two requests are for beer and wine. We have multiple locations for consumers to go and ask for a beer or a wine, again, within 50 to 100 feet of where this event is taking place. If these vendors were offering popcorn, elephant ears, something that the businesses on Park Street don't offer, I'm all for it. But all we're doing is racing to the bottom from a price standpoint and competing against the businesses who have brick and mortar. So I'm not against these businesses coming in, but this is not the right time to do it. And the two businesses that I spoke with were very adamant and very appreciative that we were supporting their businesses.
Okay, so let me reiterate. I said I've spoken with every business. I didn't say they all liked it. So I appreciate what you're saying there, Councilor Dart. But I didn't say they were all supportive. I said they've all been given the opportunity to participate and set up a local vendor. The reality of in these events, they're not going to leave the event to go grab a beer at Wolfie, or at, sorry, he's not there anymore, at Nyla's. They're going to stay at the event. So from a consistency standpoint, are we saying no food or beverage at any of these events because we're taking away business from businesses in brick and mortar? I don't think that's consistent with what we've done up to this point as a city. I think from a liability standpoint, we take on a liability by all of a sudden picking winners and losers here, because that's not what we've done. And I will just say lastly, it's insulting to me that you would say we haven't supported those businesses. Since I've been mayor, we have paid for multiple parking garages. We're investing millions of dollars into Park Street to help them capture more business, quite frankly, making it much more pedestrian friendly and more accessible to residents. And then lastly, every single lot that's available, we have purchased and improved those lots so that they have parking. These businesses came in before I was mayor, before you guys were councilors, and they took the risk to go and put a business in a place that had no infrastructure. That's on them, that's not on us. But we have spent millions and millions of taxpayer dollars to help them be successful, and to say otherwise is very insulting, quite frankly. And I can tell you, my communications staff has spent hours upon hours to help them market their businesses, and that's not what government's supposed to do. But we went out there and did a lot of work to help them bring businesses in and help create programs to incentivize our residents to be there. So I find that really insulting. But either way, you guys have to vote on this. But from a consistency standpoint and from a liability standpoint, we have allowed businesses like this before that infringe on their business. So if we're going to all of a sudden draw a line in the sand on liquor, then what are we going to do about food and anything else that we do? Simply Splendid sells trinkets and little stuff. Candles, for example. We have vendors that sell candles at all our festivals. So how are you going to play this moving forward? You can't pick one and say we're going to hold the line when we've allowed multiple violations of this, quite frankly, with our local businesses that border the park.
We're not going to agree on it. And I wasn't trying to insult you, but this is what I'm hearing from the businesses. And as I said, I'm not against mobile bars and/or other businesses coming into the park area. But when we say somebody's going to be here for every farmer's market, I think it says that we are not supporting the brick and mortar businesses as we should. And I think, as I said, I'm not against it. I don't think the timing is right for it. And again, we're going to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
And can I make
Go ahead.
a quick comment? This is not to allow them to participate in the farmer's market. It's to allow them to participate in DORA. So they already have a right, to my knowledge, to be at the farmer's market. This would just allow them to have the cups, and people can take the drinks from place to place.
Yeah,
Same thing. I don't see it as any different than what I've been discussing.
Let me step back. So right now we have kind of the structure of the issue. We got two vendors that applied to participate in our special events or farmers markets, specifically at Grand Junction. Those vendors applied to, however they applied to the city approved that. Because they sell alcohol, they didn't have to go get an Alcohol Tobacco Commission temporary event permit. So then you have to submit what the events are, the dates, the general layout of the event and so forth for that. And then also we have this DORA overlay. So we have that issue. The ATC approved the temporary event permit. We already have a DORA that this council, I believe, approved unanimously, which really does help restaurants and really that guest experience even outside of like a normal farmer's market or a concert or something of that nature. So the challenge is because they're operating off a temporary event permit authorized by the ATC, is that for them to then, or for the city really, or for the guest as well, to enjoy the privileges of a DORA, we actually, if we don't put them in a DORA, the city would have to construct by law temporary basically barriers. Councilor Huff used the orange barrier fence. That's what you've seen over the years historically, that cities are, James Whitcomb Riley Festival, which is a nice festival, by the way. I encourage all to attend. But that's what they put up to really to have some age restriction You have to have checkpoints. You have to also look at IDs and all sorts of other things for people to enter into that area. So that's the question. Now, how big that area, we were talking about this earlier, how big that area is, I'd leave that up to others. I'm not here to talk about that. But the events historically before Dora's, I mean, they would make the event premise, if you will, kind of designed or defined, I should say, excuse me, defined as an area, and they would delineate that via this barrier. And you'd have certain entrances and exits versus with the Dora, there is none. You can come and go. Now, we do have markings on sidewalks and signs and so forth, entering, exiting, those types of pieces as well. So that, you know, we have kind of a multiple points of pain, I would say, which I would agree with probably even my conversations with the mayor and conversations with the councilors. You know, we want our restaurants to be very successful, and frankly, we're looking to attract more. At the same time, we bring, I think last year, close to 100,000 people into Grand Junction, which I would say this year, the goal is 1 million. McConnell's agreeing to that tonight. But it is going to be more. I firmly believe it will be more. We have more infrastructure in our downtown, and I think it's also very highly attractive infrastructure and new restaurants and new options. So I think that will attract more. I think our events have gotten stronger with each year as well. So that's the other challenge of we're going to have people in this area. And then really the issue in my mind, which I shared with you earlier, is really at the first part, do we accept the vendor? That to me is really, but unfortunately that's, to me, it's not the question in front of us, it's the Dora piece, which, I mean, it's frustrating to some degree across the board, so.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. It's what's in front of us. And I agree with Councilor Dart on a lot of the concerns he has, but the vendors have already been approved, correct? Yeah. And so really it's, the question today for us is, are we gonna require the residents to be corralled into a particular place to drink the beer or allow them to walk through the park? That's really what's before us, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, is the city going to build like a barricade?
Well, I don't think we would ever build it. They would have to do it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, so it kind of is like, well, maybe they won't do it if we don't approve the store in front of us as well.
I'm going to step in on that question. For the record, Chris McConnell, Director of Parks and Recreation for the city. In years past, when we have not had the door in place, we have provided that, for lack of a better term, beer garden. So it would require my staff I'd have to, for this weekend, I'd have to add probably 2 to 3 additional staff members to support that effort, as well as with every farmer's market. And it does, to your point, Councilor Deppner, it does corral the drinking of alcohol into that one area. They can't buy booze and then leave. They're only allowed to, if they're not part of the door, they're only allowed to drink within the confines of that beer garden. But it would provide an extra volume of staff in order to accomplish that goal.
Which would be your decision, not our decision.
Yes, that would be correct.
I'm sorry, so I may have missed, how did these businesses get approved? What's the approval process?
We have an open invitation to apply as vendors for all of our events, not just parks events, but community engagement, which was Westfield Welcome, their events as well. We have an open invitation. We've had long conversations with most of the businesses downtown, and we continue to have conversations with them and encourage them to apply. They go through the application process. Usually we have very few alcohol vendors who apply, and we approve usually a beer and a wine vendor to participate in those events. Now, that's for farmers market. For other events like Westfield Welcome and their international festival, they might have more, but usually we only have a limited number, and we approve them, and then they apply to ATC to be part of the event through the temporary alcohol permit with ATC.
How are they vetted and who gives final approval?
Usually there's so few of them, it's my staff and I that look at them. And, you know, like I said, we only have one or two, and we try to spread those out amongst our events. For example, yes, Vino Bar is the only wine vendor who applied to be a part of Market. The one we had previous year, they did not apply this year. I do believe they're a vendor at Carmel this year. But we only had that one apply. We have several different beer vendors, from Field Brewing to Mashcraft to, we've had conversations with Sun King and being a part of our Jams at the Junction program. So we're spreading this around as much as we possibly can and being as accommodating and appreciative of the fact that we do have brick and mortar in the area.
Caitlin, you and I might not be able to answer this question, but who is responsible for the cost of establishing the designated area? And I guess when I ask that question as well, we really don't want the fox watching the hen house and having them do it, but who's responsible for paying for it?
I would have to look into that. I don't know. Patrick, do you possibly know?
It's typically the event organizer in practice, but I don't know if that's by law.
I would have to look into the statutes, but if we're the ones that have to provide staff, then that's probably potentially, I don't know the financial setup, so we would have overtime or what have you.
The way we've been operating in the past is we hold the liability because it is our event. So we take we take it very seriously, and we take it upon ourselves to make sure that we are following the laws that are put in place by the state and ATC.
I think what Director McConnell just said about liability is actually the issue that would hold the day, which would drive the action, the decision that you just talked about.
I would just ask in the future, as you're considering vendors for events, that you consider vendors that don't directly compete with the brick and mortar businesses that line the park and on Park Street. Again, we've got 7+ businesses that already sell beer and wine. I'm not sure we want to necessarily promote more beer and wine at a farmer's market or any other event for that matter. As I said, I'm not against other vendors coming in, but as I said, nobody on Park Street is selling popcorn or elephant ears or whatever it is. Those are vendors that you go, okay, that's added value, if you will, to an event. But if they're selling beer and wine and other harder alcohol, or maybe it's burgers or something like that, those oftentimes will compete directly against what's right across the street. And that's what I would ask.
I appreciate it, and it's duly noted.
Kevin, do any of the new restaurants that are being built, like Black Sheep or H Steakhouse, walk-up bars outside their buildings? You have to go actually into the building and stand at the counter?
Yeah, I believe that's true.
Yeah.
They can do, that law's been changed recently. They could erect different things to serve over, but none of their floor plans do that. I would say that, this is too much minutia for this, but how Nyla's bar is set up actually would be very easily to accomplish service of the patio. That law was changed, I want to say 3 years ago or 2 years ago. I've slept since then. But there are different ways that Scott Wolf's pretty innovative. He knows what he's doing. Not that other, Sun King definitely does. So.
And as I said at the beginning, I have reached out to the restaurants and encouraged them to be a part of our programs so that they aren't undercut. But at the end of the day, if they're not wanting to participate, and I get it, you know, it's additional head count beyond what they have at their restaurant, and it's an inconvenience. But I can tell you, Scott Wolf is very interested in participating. He's even talking about bringing food to the events, which helps him as well. So we're trying to work with these guys, but at the end of the day, it's important that we have great events to bring people into our downtown area. And if they don't want to participate, that's their right. But it shouldn't block us from having the appropriate types of vendors that are going to make our event really, popular.
Yeah.
That's the whole point we're trying to put them on for.
And on top of that, they have to plan for the extra staff, and it rains, then what do they do with the extra staff?
I mean, I totally get where they're coming from, but I will say again, Scott Wolf is interested in participating. And if he does, and he decides that, then, like Chris talked about, we want a beer and we want a wine vendor. If Scott's willing to come and provide wine, that's one less vendor we have to worry about. It's a win for everybody. But again, they have to be willing, and we've committed that we're going to do better communication with them and be more closely aligned with what we're looking for. Because we hear you, and I agree with what you guys are saying. I am the biggest fan of our downtown restaurants, other than Chad Huff. I think I go there probably more than anybody. Chad's there every night. I can't compete with that, but we want to see them successful. But again, they have to be a partner in this as well. And these events generally trickle over to the restaurants afterwards, but you know, you come in, you want to grab an elephant ear and a beer, which doesn't really go together, but if you have that option, you're not going to walk away over to Nyla's to grab that beer. You're going to stay in the confines of the event where all the action's happening.
I would make one last comment. Our events benefit from those brick and mortars just as much as the brick and mortars benefit from our events. And we want to and will continue to work to be as good of a neighbor as we host events at Grand Junction Plaza. To your point, Councilor Tam, we brought 96,000 plus people into Grand Junction Plaza last year through our programs and events. That I'm not saying all of them wouldn't have come downtown because of those events, but there's a good majority of them, and they spend a lot of time in those brick and mortars. This past week, it rained during farmers market, and I was there and had the luxury of my staff kicking me out because evidently I work too much. And I went over and got pizza at Black Sheep, and there was not an empty table in the entire business on a Thursday evening at about 7 o'clock. So we are doing our best to be as good of a neighbor as we possibly can, and we will continue to do that.
Any other questions, comments? Councilor McCarty, you.
There's been much of the thoughts already said that were up in my head, roaming around, but if I do repeat anything, I apologize. But I just wanted to take a quick step back, maybe a recap, and illustrate that there are several issues, if I may, for lack of a better term, that we have in front of us here that we're kind of talking about. One, and I do agree, the issue of, hey, we want to prioritize the brick and mortar businesses that are already in our downtown. Absolutely, and I think that's been discussed already, of giving them sort of first dibs, if you will, to participate in our events. But the item before us is just those vendors that are coming into town to participate in the farmers market, the Jams of the Junction, Westfield and Lights at the end of the year, and International Festival coming up this Saturday. So it's kind of its own separate thing. And then piggybacking on the discussion that just transpired, Black Sheep, I was at the farmers market this past Thursday, and yes, Black Sheep was absolutely packed. But I will also say Sun King was packed. Businesses on Park Street, there were patrons there as well. And just on the topic of Black Sheep, they actually do have a walk-up window within their bar area that I don't know if they'll choose to utilize it or not. I'm sure they will, but that option is available. And then Field Brewing, a local business, they were also as a vendor at the farmers market as well, and I know they'll continue to participate. And then something that just kind of clicked for me when this is in relation to what the mayor said, in terms of whether incentivizing or helping to support and benefit the brick and mortar businesses downtown. Something that clicked for me when I was walking from the township, because that's where I typically park to get a walk-in, over to the farmers market, is the new parking lot just directly south of Rivet. It is absolutely packed every time that I either walk or drive by there. So we are doing our part, if you will, to support the local businesses, and I think they're benefiting from that. Again, Rivet, it's a hot spot, and then I'll also say, trickling down to Park Street, those businesses benefit as well. But I do agree with the overall sentiment that, hey, you want to support local first. It's just that whether they take advantage of the opportunity or not, that's to be discussed. And I think furthermore, as we look towards maybe not this year, but next year when you plan for the farmers market, so on and so forth, sure, maybe that's something we can discuss of, hey, how do we necessarily approve vendors? You know, what's that process look like in the future if we want to go down that road? But I appreciate the discussion that happened all around here this evening. I do overall think that it is important to make sure we have the vendors at our events to not just attract participants, as Director McConnell illustrated, but activity breeds activity. And I think that is very prevalent with the illustration that, hey, almost 100,000 visitors last year, and the brick and mortar businesses benefit from that. So that's all I'll say. I know the thoughts were all over the place, but I just wanted to mention something. So thank you.
Any other questions, comments this evening? Seeing none, these are eligible for adoption this evening, so I would ask for a motion and a second for Resolution 26-125, which is the Common Council of the City of Westfield, Indiana, approving Vino Bar as a temporary designated permittee within downtown Westfield designated outdoor refreshment area. Need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve Resolution 26-125.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor Huff, seconded by Councilor McCarty. Seeing no other discussion, may we call the roll?
Patrick Tam?
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger?
Yes.
John Dart?
No.
Joe Dupner?
Yes.
Noah Herron?
No.
Chad Huff?
Yes.
And Victor McCarty?
Yes.
We do need a motion and a second for Resolution 26-126 this evening, in which the Common Council of the City of Westfield, Indiana, approving Hollowhead Brewing Mashcraft Fishers as temporary designated permittee within the downtown Westfield designated outdoor refreshment area. Need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve Resolution 26-126.
Second.
A motion made by Councilor Huff, seconded by Councilor McCarty. Seeing no other discussion, may we call the roll?
Kurt Wanninger?
Yes.
John Dart?
No.
Joe Dupner?
Yes.
Noah Herron?
No.
Chad Huff?
Yes.
Victor McCarty?
Yes.
Patrick Tam?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-2.
Thank you. Next order of business is Ordinance 2624, which is a town road crossing annexation. Director Todd, you are a frequent flyer.
Yeah, this is the last item from me this evening, so last time you get to hear from me. But thank you again for the record, Kevin Todd with the Community Development Department. This item is a 100% voluntary annexation request for the town road crossing development, which is shown on the screen here. Located on the south side of State Road 32, west of Little Eagle Creek. This is approximately 144 acres in size. And this item was noticed for a public hearing this evening, which was properly noticed and advertised for that, and will be eligible for your adoption as earliest as at your second May meeting, where the associated resolution for the fiscal plan will also be presented with this ordinance. Thanks.
Kevin, this is 100% voluntary as well.
Correct.
So real quick before we enter any discussion, I'm going to open up the public hearing this evening at 9:03 p.m. One of these days, we're going to play like the soundtrack from Jeopardy or something like that. We're going to close the public hearing at 9:03 this evening as well. Any discussion this evening? This is an ordinance. It's not eligible for adoption this evening. Seeing none, we will move on to Ordinance 2625, which is the Common Council of the City of Westfield, Indiana, authorizing and approving additional appropriations from the operating balances of city funds. I think this is the first time we really have a really smart person in front of us with Kelly Kemper. So all the other folks, I'm sorry.
Set me up for failure. All right, long-time listener, first-time presenter, so take it easy on me. All right, so good evening. For the record, my name is Kelly Kemper, and I am the Director of Financial Planning and Reporting for the City of Westfield. So this evening, I'm presenting Ordinance 2625, the additional appropriation from the operating balances of the city funds. This is basically just a housekeeping budget ordinance. A few weeks ago, we sent an email with all the detail that outlined the explanation for each additional appropriation that's listed on here. We do have 11 funds, and we've resent it earlier today as well, so hopefully you guys have all that detail and have had a chance to look through it. But I'm going to go ahead and briefly summarize the key points tonight. So the first two additional appropriations, thank you, Motor Vehicle Highway Fund and the Local Road and Street Fund. These funds, The additional appropriations are intended to restore their budgets to levels that you actually originally approved back in October of 2025. So what happened is during the state's review of the city's budget, those two funds were reduced based on revenue estimates at the time, which is common practice. So now, 7 months later, we have the actual tax revenue amounts that were higher than what the state had estimated, basically by $3 million. Plus, we have additional cash available from unspent appropriations for both the MVH and LRS funds. Once these funds are restored, it will support both the annual resurfacing package and the new road projects. And these are all projects that you would have already evaluated back during the 2026 budget cycle. And then the next several funds, 206, 262, 205, 242, 251, and 209. So these are all non-reverting funds that were not included on Form 4, and that is the official document that council signs during the budget approval process. Historically, because these funds do not rely on property taxes and are not approved by the state, it was common practice, not only for our city, but other local governments as well, to not include these funds on Form 4. They were just included as part of the budget presentation. So after reviewing this process with our chief of legal, our clerk treasurer, and our budget consultant, we have determined that all funds, regardless of type, should be formally included on Form 4 and approved by council. And so part of this ordinance corrects our prior practice. And then there are two funds, 245 and 272, that were new funds established after the 2026 budget adoption. And like the previous non-reverting funds, these are not funded by tax revenue and only rely on their own revenue sources. And then lastly, Fund 254, the Gala Fund. This additional appropriation is due to a Gala sponsor mistakenly sent their sponsorship payment to the city instead of advancing Westfield Foundation, and this appropriation allows us to properly account for and redirect those funds back to the foundation. I know that was a lot, and like I said, you should have an email that there's a Excel spreadsheet that goes in detail with each particular appropriation, why we're appropriating it, what the revenue source is. And additionally, Noah, I believe you had asked in a finance meeting that you would like a listing of all of our funds by both that are DLG approved and non-DLG approved. In that spreadsheet, we have also included all of that. And so as part of the 2027 budget cycle, we'll make sure that all those funds are included, and we'll have a reconciliation so you can, and I know you like President Tam, my term of tick and tie out, so that you guys will be able to tick and tie out the budget to all the funds that you're supposed to approve. So, and this is just a first read, but is the public hearing?
Yes, we need to do a public hearing as well. We're going to go ahead and do a public hearing before any questions. The public hearing, we're going to open up at 9:08 p.m. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing as well this evening at 9:08 p.m. Any questions or comments for Kelly this evening? This is the first introduction, so we'll be eligible for consideration at a later meeting. Seeing no other questions. I do want to thank you, though, for your hard work for the ACFR. I failed to do that, as well as the clerk treasurer's office, but the two of you working together, I know, took a lot of hard work, but since you're up here officially now for the first time.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah. And Marla's team has been amazing, and we've already started on the 2025 ACFR, and her team has been just invaluable to me as we're going through helping build it out. I feel like we make a good team on getting this done. Because as the mayor mentioned, it's a huge lift. So, but it's something that I think is very important. And once the audit report, the final package is issued, I will make sure that you get a copy of it. It's fantastic information, and it's basically the city's financial report card.
Yes, thank you. We will move on to city council comments, or Councilor Waniger, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just want to kind of recap from the last council meeting. I read a proclamation for the National Association of Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive, which was this past Saturday on on May 9th. And through the generosity of our community, 30,637 pounds of food was collected. We still expect another 5,000 or 6,000 pounds to come in associated with that. So thanks for the community for that support of Open Doors Food Pantry. That will benefit the clients, as well as the participation of the National Association of Letter Carriers for annually providing the largest food drive within the United States. So thank you.
Councilor McCarty.
Everything we had at APC last week was on the agenda this evening, but I do also want to make a highlight that bulk trash day was this past Saturday, and volunteering for it, we had over 800, or almost 800 residents participate in bulk trash day with a variety of items. So I just want to give kudos to staff for their great work as always, and it was awesome to see so many people, so thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mayor?
Just one comment, reminder this weekend, Saturday, 12 to 4 o'clock, the International Festival. I think it's one of our better events, quite frankly. If you haven't been, you should get out there and check it out. It's always a fun day. And that's it.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. We are adjourned.
Good job. Good discussion.
That was the one thing I was like, well, maybe he's in my head. Okay. It's smart to do. There's a couple of us. I generally don't have them, but yeah, when you said that, I was like, I wonder why. But then I was like, well, maybe he's doing his taxes.
No, well, yeah, and I guess, no, should I mention that?
No.